Welcome into a special and celebratory post-game edition of the Auburn Baseball Show. Lindsay, Crosby, Bradlaw here on location in Plainsman Park, where the Auburn Tigers just took down NC State 11-1 to win the Auburn Regional and punch their ticket to Plainsman Park's first ever Super Regional. We'll get to that in just a minute. But Brad, really kind of complete domination by Auburn. But where I want to start is with the pitching.
Yeah.
Because we all kind of expected Christian Chatterton to be the guy today. Andreas Alvarez gets the call. And 5 innings, 6 hits, no runs. And I don't know if anybody, coaching staff, fans, us, expected Alvarez to go that deep and be that good in this one.
Yeah, Lindsay, it's interesting. Butch Thompson told us on the radio broadcast after the game, they thought they'd get Dre some experience in this game, and then they'd get to Cade Fisher, and he went 5 innings. It was, Alvarez only had 1 appearance in the month of May, and he went 5 innings at Jack State, was really good in that 1 appearance, but that was it. So he was fresh. He had a nice little reset, and he showed it tonight. His slider was good. The change was good. The fastball location was good. He only walked 1 batter in 5 innings, and you only walk 1 against a good hitting team. You don't give them extra opportunities. You kind of lend itself to what we saw tonight.
Yeah, and NC State finishes with 9 hits in this one, but obviously just the 1 run. Again, only 1 walk. Auburn does strike out 10. And I really like the idea of doing that. Starting off with a righty, a youngster, a little bit of a different stuff profile, then going to Cade Fisher where you have the veteran lefty. It's a complete 180. And it's not like NC State had a lot of success off of Alvarez. They also didn't have success off of Fisher. They do get 1 run late. But the great thing here was between these 2 pitchers, you never really felt like this game was ever in danger of getting out of control.
No, they did a nice job against a lineup that they had just watched score 10 runs in the 8th inning of a game against Stetson and finish that game with 17. They've had
an hour before this one started.
It's just this is a really good offensive NC State team, and Auburn was able to keep them off balance. I just want to echo what you said there, to go from the right-hander to the lefty with good location in Cade Fisher, and how good has he been since moving into that relief role, following right-handers, whether it's Chatterton or Alvarez, or even, Cam Tilley. He could follow him.
He's Cam Tilley before.
He's really done a nice job, and, he didn't walk anybody and struck out 5. So another strong outing from Cade Fisher.
Yeah, and there's 2 different philosophies on that, right? I've seen some coaches, whether it's college pros, whatever, that they think if this guy's not successful, I'm going to put the exact same profile up there. And Butch Thompson's very much the opposite. He's talked before about his goal is to kind of, this is an Auburn thing, have the peacock, be able to have guys from all different slots, all different sides of the plate, or of the pitcher's mound. We saw that today. Yep. But we do have to talk about the offense. Obviously, that's going to be the big story for a lot of people. 7 runs in the 4th inning, 3 more in the 5th. It felt like Auburn hit a ton of doubles. It was really only 3 doubles. But the big hit came via Ike Irish. Who else?
Yeah, he capped the inning. It was a 7-run 4th inning, and the last 3 were on a 420-foot home run by Irish that nearly hit the light stanchion. It just a complete bomb. One of the hardest hit balls. In fact, we asked Ike after the game, I said, how did that feel? He said he's never felt like that when he hit a ball before. And Ike's hit a ton of home runs. So really just a special sort of punctuation mark on the big inning that opened this up. Auburn had chances in the first 3 innings. They had opportunities, had guys in scoring position. Each of the first 3 didn't get anything, but did in a big way in that 4th.
And I do think something big there is that came right after NC State made a pitching change. Starter Dominic Fritton came back out for the 4th, didn't record an out, ended up allowing the first couple runs to score. They make a move, and right after that's when the home run happens. And Butch has talked about this before, being an issue with his own team, about when you pass the baton from a pitcher to a pitcher, there's that little bit of vulnerability while that new guy gets settled. And we definitely saw Auburn take advantage of that. And that's what this team has done, right? This offense is good enough where they can hit just about anybody. And it really felt like this was just the combined attrition of the weekend for NC State.
Well, and that's a great point. They had used 12 pitchers in the weekend before the reliever that they brought in to follow Fritton, the starter, and lefties were hitting 400 off of him coming in. And so you get Bub Terrell and Ike Irish and Cooper McMurray back to back to back, and that spot in the ball game, it really is a recipe for some good things, bad things for you if guys are hitting 400 off of it. And so Auburn took advantage of that and blew the game open in that at bat. Oh, by the way, Bub Terrell, 4 hits in the game. Chris Rembert, 4 hits in the game. You're talking about the offense. Those first 3 did work.
Yeah, between Rembert, Terrell, and Irish, 11 hits. They drove in 9. They scored 5 runs. So even if you didn't have anything else from the rest of the lineup, your top 3 hitters took care of business today. And it felt like the games where Auburn has struggled is you haven't seen the top of the order be able to do it in the same inning. They might come out of the game together having 4 hits, but they're all scattered. And this time it felt like if one was getting a hit, the next one was going to get a hit, linking it together, playing station to station, and then getting the big hit from Irish on top of that to cap it off. And that's just when Auburn's hitting like this, swinging the bats like this, it feels like they can beat anybody.
It does. And that's why Chase Freilich in the 8-hole is such a positive thing, too. He had a couple of hits, a couple of walks. He got on base, I think, 4 total times tonight.
Yes. 2 hits, 2 walks.
2 hits, 2 walks. So he's on base 4 times to set the table for those guys, too. Him in the 8 spot has been an interesting choice this year. You're almost like turning the lineup over a little early, a little cheat to turn the lineup over. And when Rembert's doing what he's doing at the top of the order, with Guevara out, Bub Terrell slides in. He has 8 RBIs on the regional weekend.
He was the MVP of the regional weekend. We got that media team we all voted on.
Just a true freshman coming out in his first ever regional and driving in 8 runs. And I asked him after the game, how did that feel? Honestly, it felt like just normal. It felt like what we should be doing.
Yeah.
Love that approach from Terrell.
Definitely a good sign when your best performers on the weekend, other than your superstar expected first round pick, are all freshmen. And they say, yeah, it just felt like a normal game. Kind of makes you feel good that the moment wasn't too big for them. Talking about the moment, you do have to address I guess the elephant, or I guess not the elephant, but the other school in the park this upcoming weekend. I couldn't find a good way to segue into Coastal Carolina, but Coastal wins the Conway Regional. They are coming to Auburn this weekend. We're going to do a whole preview this week on the Auburn Baseball Show, but my first thoughts are this is one of the elite pitching staffs in all of baseball. And so this is really going to be, I think, a great test for these hitters. Yes, your freshmen are incredibly comfortable. Yes, they've been hitting really well. You're about to see one of the best combined staffs you've seen since probably the Vandy weekend. And what can Auburn's bats do against Coastal Carolina in this ballpark?
You know, other teams were trendy picks to beat Auburn in this regional.
Stetson and North Carolina State both had a lot of...
I think maybe the Conway Regional had just as many people doubting its host.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought Florida was coming out of that region. A lot of people thought maybe East Carolina could come out of that region.
Yeah.
Coastal went 3-0. They blew through it. Powerful offense, too, late in the weekend, much like we saw here. So this is a team that's coming in. They're not going to be intimidated. To have the RPI, to have that spot that they had, they've got to be very, very consistent. And they have been. So, we're going to talk more about it this week. But that's going to be a really tightly contested series this coming weekend.
Yeah, but I do think we need to, I mentioned it at the top, but first time in program history, they will play a super regional in this ballpark. We had another capacity crowd tonight. The atmosphere has been absolutely electric all weekend. You've seen more Auburn games than I have. You've called a ton of these things. The Ike Irish home run was one of the loudest moments I can remember hearing in this ballpark in the time that I've been covering the program.
You know, Creed Simpson's homer in 2010 was similar, but the pop, because it's a no-doubter.
Yeah,
there was
knew it was gone.
Yeah, there was never a moment like, oh, that might be it. No, as soon as it left the bat, you knew it was out of here, and it was a 7-run. So not only was it an immediate home run, it was also runs 5, 6, and 7
in a giant inning,
in a huge inning, in a huge game. So, yeah, I would agree. I don't know that I've heard pops that were louder than that.
Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. So, again, 11-1 victory for Auburn over NC State. They will be back in action this upcoming weekend against Coastal Carolina for 2
at least,
or 3. Yeah, 2 at least. You're guaranteed 2, might go 3, but you win 2 games, you go to Omaha to the College World Series. We're going to recap the entire weekend. We're going to preview the Supers. We're going to do all that this week. Probably going to have multiple shows coming for you on the Barn Baseball Show. Any final thoughts from this one, Brad? Before we get out of here?
Just electric. 22,000 people. This team has been built. It has played in such a way that I thought they earned the atmosphere here this weekend, and then they never trailed. They just capitalized on it in every opportunity. So hats off to the Auburn family, hats off to the program, the administrators, fans, everybody who was a part of this. We said going in, this had a chance to be a weekend where we remembered where we were when Auburn did what it did. And I think it turns out that way. This is a memory we'll talk about for a long time.
For Brad Law, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Barn Baseball Show.